Okay, so today we are doing a list of my top 10 One Piece moments so far. So at this point, I have read half of the series, at least at the point of its publication. So I've read through the Summit War saga. So there will be spoilers throughout this entire video up through the first 597 chapters, I'm pretty sure, is what I'm at. Now that I've hit the halfway point, now that I've gotten through the, one of the biggest moments I've been told of the series, I'm taking a pause and I'm going to reread the first 3 sagas. But before I start the reread, I wanted to take a step back, look back at everything I've read so far, and reflect on what are the biggest moments for me, the most impactful moments for me so far. This is not meant to be a compilation of the fandom's favorite moments, so I very well may leave out some of your favorites. I would love it if you guys wanted to make a list of your top 10 moments and put them in the comments. But today, I'm going to give you my top 10 moments, and I'm not gonna follow the rules at all. Fair warning. You'll see what I mean. Oh, I should also warn you, this is not your typical top 10 list. I'm not ranking them according to the number 10 spot all the way up to the number 1 spot. I just picked 10 of my favorite moments. They're not ranked, and I'm just going to be giving them to you according to the order in which they appeared in the series. So we're starting in Romance Dawn and we're ending in Marineford. So these are my top 10 most impactful moments, my favorite moments, the moments that meant the most to me so far in this series up to the halfway point, in the order in which they were, in no particular order. Well, that's not true. In the order in which they are shown to us in the series. The first moment that I'm mentioning in this video is from chapter 1 of the entire series, and that's specifically, well, it's several moments. This is how I'm breaking the rules. It's when Shanks shows up in the fight with Luffy, shows up for Luffy when he's getting beat up and everything that follows. So I love this moment because this is a moment where Shanks and his entire crew is supposed to be leaving. They're supposed to be setting sail, but Luffy picked a fight with some ne'er-do-wells and they are beating him up, but they've realized that they can take it really far. They can hit him, they can beat him as much as they want to, and so they're having a fun time abusing a child, and then they decide, maybe we'll just sell him. Oh, maybe we'll just kill him. And Shanks walks into the scene smiling. He's supposed to have set sail with his crew, but nobody saw him off. And so he decided to come back and check out what was going on. He shows up to the scene with a grin on his face saying, nobody was there. I needed to come and check it out. Shanks inserts himself in the situation, gets a gun put to his head, and his response is to continue smiling and casually, lightly say, yeah, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And his crew backs him up in that moment. Then he says this line, which just, it hit me so hard. We're pirates, and we don't play by the rules. Listen up. You can pour drinks on me, you can throw food at me, you can even spit on me. I'll just laugh that stuff off. But, good reason or not, nobody hurts a friend of mine. I love this moment because, one, it runs in direct parallel to the scene in the bar where these same ne'er-do-wells show up and are clearly going to be trouble, and the bartender lies and says that they're out of liquor. So Shanks backs her up and then offers his own grog, I think, for them to kind of placate the situation. And instead, these guys escalate it. They knock the drink against his head, knock him to the ground, they laugh at him, they mock him, and Shanks just laughs it off. He laughs along with them and he lets them leave and he doesn't engage. And he tells Luffy, meaningless killing does not make a man. But then we see him when Luffy's in danger and he steps up to the plate and he does engage and takes these people out because he's defending a friend. I love this moment because it's such a great moment for Shanks, but I also love this moment because we see some of Luffy's core values that he carries throughout the entire series. We see it displayed to him in this moment. And I like to think that this is one of those core moments that shaped who Luffy was. Then, of course, we follow that up with Luffy getting captured and out to sea, nearly drowns. Shanks saves him, loses his own arm. And then again, the infamous scene of him passing the hat on to Luffy and saying, "Take care of this for me. It means a lot to me." These scenes are such a great opening to the story and such a great shaping moment for Luffy. Things that he carries with him for the rest of the series. And I love them so much. Next scene on my list is the Nami hat pass off. This scene is a little bit more fuzzy in my mind. I'm really excited to re-experience it through the reread. But this is the scene where we get to see more of Nami's backstory. We've already seen Nami be an incredible pirate, swindling, thieving, tricking people out of their treasures and their boats and leaving them off to die in multiple occasions. She even tricks Luffy into taking the fall for her. She throws him under the bus when she's running after she's stolen a map from Buggy. But Luffy attaches himself to her, and when he attaches himself to someone, he becomes very determined. And this is where we see Nami's backstory. She's had this terrible, terrible situation forced on her by these fishmen, and when it all comes to a head, and she finally turns to Luffy, tears in her eyes, and says, "Help me." And then Luffy takes the hat off and puts it on her head, tells her to take care of it for her, I think, and then goes off to take care of things for her. I love this moment because it's a beautiful moment of the crew coming together. I love this moment because, again, I feel like we really see one of the foundations of who Luffy is. Something that I've repeatedly mentioned in my videos is that when his crew is in physical danger, usually, a lot of times, Luffy just smiles and says, "Let's fight. This should be fun." But when they're in emotional pain, that's when something clicks for him. That's when something shifts for him. And he will turn the smile off and take people down. This is a moment where Luffy is pausing everything and making that shift for the sake of protecting Nami's freedom. And I also just love it because it's such a parallel to Shanks putting his hat on Luffy's head. And I know that Luffy does this several times throughout the series, takes his hat off and put it on Chopper's head, or, you know, there are other times where he does this when he's ready to fight and he puts his hat in the care of someone else, and I love that, but this is the first of those moments. And it's beautiful. Man, time, what is time? Moment number 3 is them saying goodbye to Vivi. Now, Vivi is probably Vivi. I think someone corrected me and told me that it's Vivi. Oh, now I don't know what to say. I'm gonna say Vivi because that's what I've always said. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Vivi is one of my favorite side characters, one of my favorite, so far, one-off characters that we have faced that we've encountered in this series. I adore her, and she is one of the characters. This Alabasta, I think is how you say it, arc or saga, is one of my favorite, like one of the things that I'm the most excited to revisit in my reread. That and Bon Clay. I really need to recontextualize him because I've clearly forgotten a lot about his early chapters. Vivi's character is, I could do a video about her. Actually, I plan on doing a video about her, but I'm waiting until we come back around to her because I'm positive this isn't our only time with her in the series. But anyway, from meeting her as she is a incompetent antagonist, to seeing her backstory of what she went through as a kid, being kidnapped, and then eventually Crocodile framing her father, and now the disarray that her kingdom is in. We see her shift from this antagonistic situation to or character role to her being the princess princess that is loyal to her people. But even though her entire mission here, all of her goals is just to restore and protect her kingdom, we also see her fall for our crew and put her own dreams and her own kingdom aside so that, or not aside, but on hold so that she can be loyal to her friends when Nami is sick, and I believe she takes the crew to Drum Island so that she can be saved. She pauses her mission for their sake, which is beautiful because they also pause their mission for her sake. I love that give and take so much. It's through Vivi's arc and her story that we get to see that first fight between Luffy and Crocodile, which is such an amazing fight, and I can't wait to reread it because this is the first time that we see our crew up against a foe that's too strong for them. It's the first time they're faced with the reality that they didn't know what they were in for and that this world is bigger and stronger than they are. We have a ton of fights in this whole sequence, in this whole arc and saga, but I love the role Vivi plays because she's not a powerhouse, because she's not a force to be reckoned with. She's very completely human. She's vulnerable. She's not nearly as strong as the majority of people in this fight, but her determination, her fight, her ability to grit her teeth and struggle her way to this bomb that she's trying to save them from, I think is just as inspiring, if not more. I would say more inspiring than the rest of it, because her loyalty and determination and dedication to her people means that it doesn't matter that she's weak. It doesn't matter that she's wholly human and without these special powers or without some magnificent fighting skill, but she's right there with them, doing everything in her strength, sacrificing herself for her kingdom. I love that. I think she's so inspiring. I loved the scene where she is trying to convince everybody to stop fighting, her speech. We get that infamous line from Luffy where he says, "I can hear you." And then finally, the scene where she tells them, "I hope," even though they wanted her to join the crew, I did too, but she couldn't. And I love that that's the choice she made. I love the scene when they wanted her to join. She chose to stay with her people to rebuild her kingdom. And as they sail away, she's calling after them and they can't respond. So they just raise their fists with the X's. I haven't even reread it yet, and it's just so powerful. I mean, there's so much that I love about this whole sequence. Sanji saving everybody in the casino was another just great moment. But really, everything surrounding Vivi, I think she's such an inspiring character. And like I said, I want to do a video for her eventually when we do come back around to her story, because she's a character that I think is so inspiring. Moment number 4 is in Water 7, and that's when Zoro forces Luffy to be captain. Usopp is struggling so hard with the reality that the Mary is beyond repair, and his pain of losing a companion who he realizes in fact does have a spirit and who he's bonded with so much, as well as him projecting his own insecurities and fear over being the weakest member of the crew, all culminates into him facing off against Luffy. I love this entire sequence. I love so many little things about this. I love that Zoro reminds Luffy, you're the captain and you have to act like it. If one of your crew members is doing this, you have to stand up. That was a really important moment, I think, for Luffy as captain and for the crew as a whole, for them to maintain their stability as a team. That fight between Luffy and Usopp was also incredible and devastating between the flashbacks as we're having the fight, the way Usopp did hold his own, and all the meaning wrapped up in all of it. But then we also have the moment when we realize that Usopp, after we've gone through Water 7 and gone through Enies Lobby, now we're in post-Enies Lobby, and we realize Sanji realized that Usopp wanted to come back to the crew, and Luffy is excited to take him back, and once again, Zoro tells Luffy, you can't just take him back after everything that he's done. He has this line, "Listen, all of you, This guy may be an idiot, but he's still the captain. We're better off without a crewmate who can't respect the captain when the going gets tough. A crew that doesn't respect their captain and a captain who doesn't deserve that respect is destined to fail. He then goes on to say, if you take Usopp back without him apologizing, I'll be the next one to leave. Again, I want them to take Usopp back. I want the crew to be restored. I don't like the pain and tension that's been happening throughout this entire saga. But he's right. These are the words that the crew needed to hear in order for the crew to stay strong. There has to be some level of order and respect amongst the crewmates that was damaged. And Zoro is speaking the words that they needed to hear here. It was either right before this or right after that he says, if the first words we hear out of Usopp aren't, I'm sorry, we leave him behind. And then it's not the first words they hear. Usopp is just trying to be accepted back in, and as they're fighting, everybody's pretending. I can't hear anything Usopp's saying. I can't hear any of it until Usopp finally says, I'm sorry. Then suddenly they can hear him and they embrace him back into the team. I love this because these are tough moments that needed to happen in order for the crew to remain intact. I also love that despite the reality of what Zoro was saying, they wanted to give Usopp every chance to do it right, to come back right, because they wanted him back. And they were willing to fuzz the lines a little bit, to blur the lines a little bit, if it meant that they could have him back. I think that these are great moments of strength, as well as great moments of grace and love. Oh, I also want to mention in this compilation of one moment that is many moments, I really love when Usopp and Luffy are fighting and it's escalating, and there's a moment where Zoro tells them to calm down. He tries to interject, and then there's a moment where Sanji really interjects because Luffy was about to say something really harsh that he wasn't going to be able to take back, and he didn't want to let him do it. And you know, I love this crew. Moment number 5 on this list is I want to live. Robin's been captured. Robin doesn't want the crew to follow her. Well, she surrenders herself for capture. We get her backstory. We see the pain that Robin has gone through. And we see Robin reject her crew not her crew, these people over and over and over again. And how they refuse to give up. Robin keeps saying that she wants to die. Luffy won't take it. Finally, we get the moment of Robin screaming, tears running down her cheeks. I want to live. Oh. That moment alone is enough to make this list. But the fact that it's followed by Luffy saying, I see who your enemies are. Shoking, shoot down that flag. And he says, Roger. And he shoots it down, essentially declaring war on the world government in that moment. And then when Luffy screams, let's go back together, Robin, the let's go back together, Robin moment, that was later, that was after we defeated CP9, which, by the way, the CP9 reveal betrayal was so good too. But the point is the compilation of all these moments just build together into one of the most emotional parts of One Piece yet. Not the most emotional. I've hurt more, but one of them. Moment number 6 is going to be Usopp telling everyone to jump into the sea. We've seen the crew's dedication to get to Robin. We've seen their loyalty to one another and how they will give everything to protect someone that they truly care about. But now they've rescued Robin, but they are not in the clear. And Luffy has fought to the point that he can't move anymore. Everything seems hopeless. There's really not a way out. And Usopp hears the Mary calling. Because of Usopp's connection with the Mary, he's able to hear this voice that no one else can hear. And he screams at them all to jump into the sea. This scene hit me so hard, and even still, as I was flipping through screenshots trying to decide which moments to put into it, when I had forgotten about this moment, but when I hit it, it hit me with a physical force. Because Usopp is a character who throughout this entire arc has been on a roller coaster. We did just before this see Usopp call to Luffy and tell him to stand up and fight, and that moment when Luffy is so happy to see him and he's like, Usopp, you came. Oh, that one gets me too. But Usopp left the crew. He left and he wanted to be with them, but Shoking showed up because Usopp couldn't face them. Usopp has challenged them, abandoned them, insulted them, and fought alongside them under an alias. But at this point, he should have damaged the trust of his crew. Yet, and I think that this shows the crew and their heart so well, yet, in spite of everything that has happened in this saga so far, when Usopp says, jump into the sea, and it doesn't make sense, and half of the crew will certainly drown if they do because they're devil fruit users, they trust him. They don't wait for an explanation. They don't try to understand the situation. They trust him, and they jump. I think that it's a big moment for Usopp, that he heard the ship, that he knew the solution in this impossible situation, and it's a big moment for the crew that after everything, he's still one of them, and they still trust him without question. I just realized that since I'm jumping all over the place trying to cram as many moments into one moment slot, I definitely am saying some things out of order. Hopefully you don't mind. Then of course following this we do have the Mary's funeral, which is one of the most devastating things in this series. Not the most, but that one hurt me. And I'll just mention it along with this moment, but when I talk about my top moments, I'm not talking about the ones that harmed me the most. That could be its own video, really. There's enough of them. I'll also just quickly mention here that in this whole sequence with the Mary saving them as the last thing that the Mary does for them, we do see Sanji, that he thought ahead and he pulled the lever and he is the reason that they all got away. And I really love that moment. Moment number 7 is nothing happened. In Thriller Bark, when they have fought and fought and fought and fought, to the point of the sun rising and the crew still stood strong. Even though they didn't need to, even though when Luffy was facing off against his shadow and Moria and Oar's body, the crew could have stepped aside and saved themselves, but they chose not to. They chose to still stand there next to Luffy as they died, as their bodies disintegrated because they had lost their shadows. They still chose to stand next to him rather than preserve their lives a little bit longer. Again, just shows so much of the core of who this crew is. Anyway, from there, they fought and fought and fought and fought to the point of Luffy's collapse again. Now, another warlord of the sea shows up. There's no way they can win, but he offers them a different option. Zoro can take on all the pain, which would kill anyone, instead of him taking Luffy's head. There's so much about this moment that is significant. The fact that Zoro, who we met back in Romance Dawn when he said, if you stand in the way of my dream, I don't know, I'll kill you or something. I don't remember what he said. We have Zoro, who before the bubble of pain is offered to them, who happily and readily offers himself as sacrifice in place of Luffy. He's ready to give up his dream if it means that he can protect Luffy and help him to become the Pirate King. But then you also have Sanji, who comes in and says, what good is it if you give up your dream? And then he offers himself as well. Anyway, we finally get the bubble of pain. Zoro takes it, literally goes through hell. Pain that would have killed anyone else and nearly kills him. And when everybody's celebrating, Sanji is looking out for his boy, his rival, the one that sets him off more than anyone else. He's looking out for his boy, and he wants to know where Zoro is. He finally finds him, and what we hear is nothing happened. After all that he sacrificed in this battle, and then all that he suffered for Luffy, something that I can't even imagine the extent of what it must have done to him. And he doesn't want Luffy to know about it. He doesn't want to acknowledge it. It was nothing. I think anyone in this crew would have done the same as Zoro. Probably not survived it, but I think anyone in this crew would have done it, and I think anyone in this crew wouldn't have wanted credit for it. And I think that Zoro stands in and again displays the depth of loyalty, sacrifice, and love that they have for one another. And then the fact that Sanji protects his secret. And while Zoro is weak back in Sabadi, in the Knot Island, forward, when Zoro is weak and Sanji's looking out for him. Sanji even at one point leaves Nami to be protected by Frankie so that he can go and make sure that Zoro's good. This moment, everything leading up to it and everything following it until we lose everyone, displays this crew, the extent of this crew's love and loyalty and dedication to one another. I think it's one of the highest displays of it. Moment number 8 is Luffy punching the Celestial Dragon, the Celestial Toe Jam, as I like to call them, because they don't deserve to be called dragons. The Celestial Dragons are brilliant villains because they're not only bad guys, they not only do bad things, they're not only interesting antagonists, but they are written so vilely that they actually make me physically angry. It's not just an interesting antagonist, it's someone that I would like to see punched in real life all the time, forever. And the moment where Luffy throws the punch, it's like the readers threw it with him. We all wanted this so badly. And it was such a satisfying moment. Not only that though, I love that Luffy knew exactly what he was doing. I love that after Luffy threw that punch, he turned to his friends and essentially said, "Sorry guys, I just started a war." He declares a lot of wars, actually. Kind of love that. He does it again at the end of the Summit War Saga when he does all those things to get his tattoo shown. We'll keep going. I love that he's fully aware of the impact of his actions. He's fully aware of what this is going to cause, and he doesn't care because it needs to happen. And again, that displays so much of who Luffy is. I actually really want to do a parallel for this one as well, back to when Luffy punches that snobby rich kid that is holding Zoro as prisoner and says he's going to set Zoro free, but actually he's going to give him a public execution. This is way back in Romance Dawn when Luffy realizes that the snobby rich kid not only lied to Zoro and said that he'd set him free after a month, but really he's going to give him a public execution in 3 days. But on top of that, he realized that Zoro has been imprisoned unjustly, that his dogs were terrorizing and harming this child, and Zoro defended the child, and that's why Zoro is now being publicly executed, because he stood up to a brat, but a brat with power. And Luffy, he's not about that life. So knowing full well that this is the Navy captain, I think, that this is the Navy captain's brat, knowing full well who he is, knowing full well the kind of power he holds, Luffy throws the punch. And I love this because this is the first moment that Luffy does something like this. This is the first moment that Luffy does what he did to the Celestial Toe Jam. And I love the consistency in his character. When he sees someone stealing someone else's freedoms, when he sees someone using their power to harm the innocent, his reaction is to not care about the consequences, to be aware of them, to just not care about them, to not care about what kind of position this is going to put him in. He'll face it The bad guy needs to be punched. The leader, the person with power, needs to be knocked down a peg. It's kind of like when we say, that guy really needs to get slapped. Luffy will go do the slap. And I think that that is a characteristic in him that we can all appreciate and cheer along next to when he does it. I love this about his character. I love these moments for him. Moment number 9, we are now in Marineford, and the final 2 moments are in Marineford. First, we have when Pops is stabbed by one of his own sons. We have established before this moment that Pops has, I just learned about the Hakis, the 3 different types of Hakis right before this. I don't remember which one this is called, but he's able to dodge anything. He's able to be very aware of the circumstances around him, the world around him, and he can sense when someone is trying to attack him, and he can dodge it easily. That hasn't changed in his whole old age. He's still able to do this, but when his child attacks him, he doesn't fight back, he doesn't dodge, he lets it happen. Pops is a character that I instantly attach to because of his entire motivation is to have a family, and in that motivation, he provides families. He provides a family for thousands. I connect with his character so very much. But this moment in particular, I mean, like, I guess Pops, much like Vivi, just him as a character is one of my top moments. Every scene he's in, every moment where he defends his children, where he takes them in as his own, when he says, join my family, let me be your father. Every Pops moment there is, I love him. But this moment where he doesn't dodge, even though we know he can, he takes it and he just says why. And when he realizes that it's because one of his sons has been manipulated into believing that he isn't loyal to his kids, and even that he would not do what he's doing for Ace for the rest of them. He takes a moment to explain to this character, whose name I never learned, because I don't believe he deserves it. I call him Squidward. He took a moment to tell this character, to set the record straight, to explain to him, I would do this for you. I would do this for any of you. I would offer the exact same amount of resources, dedication, and sacrifice for any one of you. But then on top of that, he takes the time to try to repair the relationship between his sons, because this Squidward that attacked him hates Ace because of these lies that he's believed. And he tries to repair that bridge between him and Ace too, because it's just as important to him that there wouldn't be division between the brothers, which to me shows that he's not only seeking a family for himself, like he says he is, but that he's seeking to provide a family for others, not just in himself, but in all of them that he's taken in as his family. And I think that moment is beautiful. Then we ended on him saying, you're a fool, but I still love you. After being stabbed, after lies being declared over him of what kind of father he truly is, after betrayal, after everything that just happened, he wants his kid to know that I still love you. Whew. That's a big one. That's a big one. I also want to mention right before Pops dies, when he turns to Ace and he says, he's about to die. And the one question on his mind, the one thing he wants to know is, were you happy with me as your dad? Whitebeard speaks to a very specific part of my heart. And I love him. Number 10 moment, which I think we all know by now that when I say moment, I mean moments. As long as I can make them loosely connect, it counts. My number 10 moment is after Ace has been rescued and saved and freed. I love the panels where the brothers are standing side by side, fighting back to back. They're not in the clear. They're not out of there. But Ace is free for now. And when the brothers stand back to back to defend each other, to fight, and Ace checks on Luffy, are you good to fight at this point? And Luffy is just so boiling over with joy that he's like, I can do anything right now. Whew. And then the other moment that I want to tack onto this is we get just a little flash of Ace's backstory and seeing how devalued he's been his entire life, how little worth people have told him he's had, and how much he's believed that. And when he dies, he tells his brother, "I'm sorry you couldn't succeed in saving me, but thank you for loving me." Knowing what Ace has been through and what he has thought of himself his entire life, and that being Luffy's big brother, and then we get context, a lot more context on that in the post-war arc, but seeing that he was valuable to Luffy, and then being Luffy's big brother and protecting him was what made him continue living. And then here at the end, he sees how deeply he's loved by his family, by his crew, by his brother. And he gets to die with a smile on his face, realizing how loved he truly is. And man, that's a good moment. Okay, those are my top 10 best One Piece moments so far. I had so many moments that I wanted to put in the list, and I just couldn't figure out a way to manipulate their way in. The moment when they're bursting in to rescue Robin, and Sanji and Zoro are bickering their whole way in, but when it comes down to it, when they're facing a dead end, and Sanji or Zoro, one of them turns to the other and says, "Dead end? You see a dead end?" And the other says, "Nope, I don't see anything like that." And then they take down the wall. Oh, so good. Blackbeard's speech of dreams have no end back in Jaya. Every moment of Jinbei, but specifically the two moments where Luffy is crumbling, when he's facing Blackbeard and he almost throws everything away, his whole mission for Ace, just so that he can face off against Blackbeard, and Jinbei stops him and refocuses him. And then after Luffy loses him and Jinbei faces him and won't let him go until he can talk through it and process through it, and he was Luffy's stability in the entire post-war arc. Garp, the moment when he said, "I have no sympathy for pirates, but for family I do," and he sits down next to his grandson. Blink's sake, Brook's song, and then his entire backstory with Laboon, which I think I'm just gonna do a whole dedicated video for later on after I reread the beginning of it, and I'll probably just go ahead and reread that part of Thriller Bark as well, because that really just deserves a lot of discussion. Zoro facing off against Mr. 2, I think it was, Wax Fella, and Zoro getting stuck in the wax and then trying to hack off his own legs to get them out and then striking that pose. I mean, just, and then every buggy moment ever. All of them. There's so many moments. There are so many moments that I wanted to force into this video, and I guess I've just found a way to do it. We'll call those the honorable mentions. I knew, top 10 list is real hard. This series is so chock full of incredible, powerful, hilarious, amazing moments. Obviously, Luffy shoving the zombie back into the ground would fit everything. It's perfect. There are too many incredible moments in this series for a top 10 list, so this is the best I can do for you. But I love this series so much, and there's so many more moments that I could put in this video. I'd love to find out. I'd love to hear what your top 10 moments are. Please, if you can manage, make your own list and put it down in the comments. I'd love to read through them. Please, only for the first half of the series, because that's how far I am, so that's all the spoilers I need. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. I'll see you again soon. Bye.